Hello, welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I am the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10, episode 106. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partner, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Last week, as we started our third year of 10 at 10, we started going back to the basics and going back to the basics of the things that we need to do, the basic things that we can do for our organization to stay safe in cyberspace. Last week, we started with policy, which is not fun for anybody. I get it. I agree. I had some feedback of people that talked about how much policy is not fun. And I agree with all that. But here's the catch. If we don't start with policy, if we don't identify what we're protecting, if we don't do some of those basic things, then all of these other pieces that we're talking about are probably relevant, but aren't actually relevant for certain because we don't know we don't have a vision. We don't have a strategy. That policy and those procedures and those documents that we talked about last week all help us with our strategy and the direction that we're going for our organization. This week, we talk about something that has probably been talked about on 10 at 10 more than any other topic, would be my guess. And it will continue to be the topic that's talked about more than anything else because we continue to not listen. And that's passwords. So let me bring it up. So we're going to talk about today improving password security. Passwords. Passwords are the thing that we all use the most that we hate because we got to remember so many different passwords. But it's also the way to get, if your password is compromised, that can do more damage to your organization than maybe anything else. So passwords are really important. And we will continue to talk about passwords probably forever because it's that important to our organization's security. First of all, passwords should be long and complex. You don't want a password that is guessable. You don't want it to be, actually, I saw an article yesterday that talking about industrial controls and that the default password was PASS1234 and that a lot of organizations are still using that as their password. That is shameful, particularly if it is an industrial control system that has national importance. If it's critical infrastructure, for example, that is still using default passwords on industrial control systems is not acceptable. But we need strong passwords. We need complex passwords. We need long passwords. If you have say a 16, 18 character password that is a mix of upper and lowercase, the truth is you may not need to change it ever unless it's compromised, unless it was part of a password database breach. So if we use complex passwords, we're not going to be in the mode of having to change that password all the time. So that's a benefit of having strong complex passwords. Do not reuse passwords. Do not reuse passwords. So we had a couple of 10 at 10 episodes where we talked about this. But if PayPal, I read this morning, PayPal had a number of passwords that were compromised this week. If that password on PayPal is the same password that you're using on something else, then that something else has been compromised as well, because they will take those passwords and then immediately go over and try them at all of your other accounts. And And where you have the same password, there's a chance that they can get into it. Now, there's some things that you should do, that the organizations that are storing your password should do to make that a little safer. But the thing that you can do to stay safe is to not reuse passwords. Do not reuse passwords. Do not reuse passwords. All right. So the question is, I'm telling you that you need long, complex passwords, 16, 18, 20 characters long. I'm telling you that you can't reuse passwords. I have probably 200 passwords that I have to remember. I can't do it. It is impossible to do. So how do I do that? I use a password manager. Now, the pictures you're seeing on the screen are not my password manager. I obviously wouldn't do that, but there are password vaults is what they call it. And this is 1Password, which is a Mac supported piece of software. And essentially the way that it works is that the file is encrypted, and the way to open or decrypt that file is to put your password into that lock screen that you see. Once you put a password in, then it'll bring up all of your passwords, your secure notes, your information that you're storing. There are a couple of different styles of this. There are those password vaults that store on your computer only. There's a password vault that would store in the software's cloud, to where you can sync between. There are pros and cons to all of these. I'm not going to tell you which one works best. But what I'm saying is that this is safer than reusing passwords. So if the option is to reuse passwords or to use a password vault or to write it down on a piece of paper, I would say a password vault is their safest way to do it. So I strongly encourage a password vault only because it's the practical way for you to remember 200 unique passwords. If they're simple passwords, maybe you can remember them. But if you're going to listen and use complex passwords, then we've got to have a way to remember those. And this is a good way to do that. And then the last thing that I want to touch on today is talking about two-factor authentication. A lot of organizations have moved to two-factor authentication. So what that means, Google, for example, the graphic that you see with the 3 yellow circles on the screen is a Google graphic. What that is if you log into your email on Google and you have, let's assume you have two-factor authentication enabled. If you log in to your account with your password, and it is the first time you have logged in with that browser, or maybe it's the first time in a month, it's going to ask you, it's going to send you an authentication code, and using the Google Authenticator, using a mobile app, and you're going to have to enter that code. So what that means is that if you stole my password, you also have to steal that second factor that it's using. So for example, not only would you have to steal my password, but you would also have to steal my phone and be able to break into my phone. So the odds of both of those things happening go down dramatically. So if you are using a service that has the option for using two-factor authentication, turn it on. Twitter allows it. Facebook allows it. Google allows it. Apple allows it. Instagram allows it. If your bank probably allows it. If that option is there, then please use it. That adds a layer of protection for your account, that if somebody on the other side of the globe steals your password, then they also have to get your phone, or it doesn't matter. So you'll get an alert that somebody tried to log into your account, verify that it's you by putting in this code. If it's not you, then maybe you want to change your password. If it is you, then it's all good. So I strongly encourage you doing that as well. Passwords, two-factor authentication, password managers are 3 things that every single person watching this show today can do to protect yourself, your family, and your business. I strongly encourage you doing that. And that's something that we can practice today. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that resonates with you. Hopefully you're already doing it. So this is just repetitive. If not, I would strongly encourage you to take a look at that. Thank you for joining today on 10 at 10. I hope you found today interesting. If you have questions, let me know. And we'll be back here next week for part 3 of Getting Back to Basics. Thank you very much. Bye.